Hello everybody, the Steam Summer Sale for 2018 has started, and I'm here, like always, to provide some suggestions on some games that I think you either should consider picking up or should absolutely pick up. I'm going to do a separate video for what I consider hidden gems, and that's going to have a ton of really good stuff in it, but this one is going to focus more on just a smattering of really good games that you probably should own if you don't already. My goal here is to provide you guys with at least one game that you don't own in this list, so I've kind of gone pretty broad on a lot of the selection here. However, they're all really good. Also, just as a side note, some of my selection here is based on a lot of the announcements that we saw at E3 this year, so expect a bit of, going back to some older games that are getting sequels and whatnot. But let's get started with the RPGs. So the thing with these games is you're going to get the best bang for your buck, as in you're going to get the most gameplay out of a single dollar that you end up spending. That's kind of the good thing about RPGs these days, is they tend to be that way. And in this case, Divinity Original Sin 2 is just a good purchase. It's 20% off. It's a great game. It's every way better than the Divinity Original Sin, which is also on sale. And if you want to pick that up, you can. But Divinity Original Sin 2 has 4-player co-op, which is awesome. The other one has 2-player co-op, and for the most part, it is just a completely improved game on the original. The voice acting is good, the gameplay's good, the story's good. I liken it to being, if you ever like playing D&D, it is D&D the video game. It's, there's options for everything that you want to do. The combat is very dynamic. Hell, they even have a Dungeon Master mode if you want to take some of your friends through your own custom-made adventure. You can totally do that within the game, and it's really, really freaking cool. This game is worth it at full price, and at 20% off, it is also worth it. I wouldn't suggest, if you've never played these games, picking up the Divine Edition. It just comes with some collectible stuff like an art pack and whatnot. The game has a ton of modding behind it, and it is going to be getting its enhanced edition later this year, I think in September or August or something like that, which will add a lot more to the game, and you'll get that free if you own the game, so you may as well pick it up now and then get the enhanced edition when it comes out. Next up is The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. If you don't own this game, what are you doing? This is one of the best RPGs ever made. It is a freaking long game. There's a lot of stuff to do in this game, and it is all quality. Get the Game of the Year edition, don't get the base game. They're the exact same price, except the Game of the Year edition will give you the other 2 expansions, so Heart of Stone and Blood and Wine, and those 2 expansions are literally expansions. They're not like DLC packs, like they are. It's their own separate little thing that has a ton of gameplay baked into them as well. So this is a really, really good deal as far as how much money you're spending, and on top of that, it is made by a really good company. CD Projekt Red is coming out with Cyberpunk 2077 soon. I say soon, but within the next 4 years, let's say, depending on how quickly they get that game out. If you didn't see the trailer from E3, it looks fantastic, and the behind closed doors demo sounds amazing that they ended up showing. So if you want to see why this is one of those companies that is revolutionizing games and RPGs and DRM free stuff through GOG, then pick up this game and you'll see why. It is like based in the DNA of how this game was designed. It should be noted that you don't need to play the other Witcher games in order to get this one or understand it, but it does help. They're a little old. They do feel, especially the first Witcher game, feels a little janky, but they're also on sale for stupid cheap, and you can pick those up as well. Maybe you have a bit of a Cyberpunk itch that you need to scratch after seeing the Cyberpunk 2077 trailer. In that case, go pick up Shadowrun. In fact, Shadowrun Returns is currently free for a limited time on Humble Bundle. I will put a link to that in the description and in the comments. But outside of that, the other 2 games on here are very, very cheap. So you can either buy the collection, which will come with all of it, which is a pretty good deal, or you can just go pick up one of the other 2 games. Maybe even just go pick up Shadowrun Returns for free, see if you like it. If you do, then get Dragonfall and Hong Kong. In my opinion, I believe Hong Kong is the best of the 3 games, but most people seem to side on the fact that Dragonfall is the best of the 3 games. They're all good, they're all unique and weird and just awesome. But maybe you're looking for an RPG that is a bit more difficult and you don't want to play Dark Souls for the 100th time, then Darkest Dungeon is probably going to be a really good game for you. So Darkest Dungeon is a dungeon crawling game that is inherently difficult. You're gonna lose characters, they're gonna die permanently, and with that comes a lot of negative effects on all your other guys. It's not easy, but it is really fun. On top of that, they do have 2 new expansions out. So they had Crimson Court, which came out last year sometime, and now they have the Color of Madness, which I have tried and I have played, and it is really good. It just makes the game a little different and a little bit more difficult. So if you've never played Darkest Dungeon before, just pick up the base game. And if you like it, then cool, because then there's no repercussions on, oh, I bought all this DLC that I'm never going to touch. But at the same time, if you think that you'll enjoy this game, pick it up. But here's my warning: play your first game without any of the DLC enabled, without Crimson Court or the Color of Madness enabled, because it will make the game more difficult, and you don't need that in an already difficult game that you have no idea how to play. If you already own the game, Crimson Court is discounted, but the Color of Madness, because it just came out, is not. I would suggest picking up pretty much all of the DLC. It's all good, and the base game is fantastic if you don't want to pick that up either way. It's got good music, it's got a good narration, it's got good art style, and it's just a freaking good game. And if you're a fan of games with unique and cool art styles, go get the Supergiant collection. If you don't own any of these games, or maybe you only own 1 or 2 of them, you should pick up all of them because they're all really, really good. Supergiant is one of my favorite developers of all time. They make beautiful games with amazing soundtracks and awesome narration and voice acting. And for the most part, these games are all very different from each other. You know, Bastion is more of an action RPG, Transistor is like a turn-based action RPG, and Pyre is, well, Pyre is a really weird and different game that you can't really put into its genre, but it is an RPG and it is really freaking cool. We did a playthrough of it. I'll put a link in the video and in the description, and of course in the comments, so you can go look at that and kind of see whether or not you'll like it. It's probably not going to be for everyone, but the other 2 games are a little bit more general and you'll probably like those more. I think Pyre is still a fantastic game. All of the soundtracks are worth getting. They're just good. These games are good. Buy these games if you don't own them. And maybe you, like I said, you only own 1 or 2 of them. Get the other ones because they're just good all around. But if those games aren't indie enough for you, there's always Into the Breach, which is from the makers of FTL, which is also on sale. I'll talk about that in a second. Into the Breach is a really cool tactical turn-based RPG thing. It's hard to describe. It's kind of tactics like. It's weird. It's really good though, and I would highly suggest playing it. We also did a playthrough on this. I will put a link again in all of the places that you want to search for a link. It's very, very good. It's weird, but at the same time, it's one of those games that you're going to play through like 20 or 30 times because the replay value is meant to be there. You're meant to fail. You're meant to upgrade your stuff and then kind of move on, just like you are in FTL. Speaking of FTL, again, is also on sale, and it's just really good. It's stupid cheap for such a good game. It's fun. It's unique. It's got a good art style. It's got a good soundtrack. It is very indie, and it is regarded as kind of one of the better indie games that has come out over the many years, which is why Into the Breach is so good. It's because the same company, you know, kind of knocked it out of the park again. But maybe you're saying, Zen, I've already played those games. I have Into the Breach. I have FTL. I've got the Bastion stuff. Well, do you have Cuphead? Because Cuphead is another game with a fantastic art style. That is a little punishing. It is rather difficult. It is really fun. It is rather difficult, though. It's gonna take you some time to get through this game. It's not gonna take you like 50 hours, but it's gonna take you anywhere from like 6 to 20, kind of in that range. It is really, really, really awesome. The music is awesome, and it is just a cool game. If you don't play this game, you are missing out. There's also new DLC coming with this game, which is going to focus on a couple new characters and stuff. So that stuff was announced at E3, and this game just at its core is a great game to pick up and try playing. If you don't own it, then you probably should, because this is one of those games that people are going to talk about for many, many years because of how just unique everything came together within it. But again, maybe you're like Zen, it's got a cool art style, it's unique, it's fun, it's indie, it's not relaxing. I need a relaxing game. Well, I've got the game for you. Go buy Stardew Valley. I keep telling people to buy this game because it is so freaking good. I have put hundreds of hours into this stupid little tiny game, and why? Why? It's a farming game, but it is not also just a farming game. There's so much more to it than that, and it is just fantastic all around. The multiplayer version of the game is currently in beta. You can opt into it once you have the game. You can play with your friends if you would like, or you could play solo. That's not a problem either. The actual multiplayer release will be later this summer. However, it is, available to play right now. So you can either buy it for yourself and just play with yourself, not like that, you sickos, or you can just, go invite your friends and have a good time farming stuff. It seems rather simple, and it seems like you're gonna be like, it's not what I would like. It's a farming game, but it's, like I said, it's not. There's so much more to it than that. And after about an hour of playing, you'll kind of get it, you'll understand it, and then you'll look at the clock and 2 days have passed, and you're like, oh gosh, I haven't gone to the bathroom, I'm constipated, like what is going on? That's what Stardew Valley does to you. It takes over your life, and it is so freaking good. But I hear you, random commenter on the internet. You're saying, I already have Stardew Valley, and nothing that you've put on this list so far I have not gotten. Maybe you haven't gotten my time in Portia. This is kind of a Stardew Valley-like game. It's got a lot of the same mechanics, except it's in 3D. It's got a lot of the RPG mechanics that you would expect in these kind of games. On top of that, it is in early access. You do have to keep that in mind that the game is going to have a lot more updates as it goes, so it's not a finished product, but it does feel like a finished product. It has got a lot of stuff going for it. It is really, really freaking good, and it's a lot of fun just in general. I would suggest it, but with the caveat that it is an early access game. Maybe wait for it to be full release if you're not dying for one of these kind of games. Either way, the price is really cheap, and it is a Stardew Valley-like game, except a little bit different. Now let's move on to my favorite game of all time, which may surprise some of you, but those of you who know me and have heard me just rant about this game over and over and over, you need to buy it. Buy Life is Strange. Holy crap, this game is fantastic. It is a game that is not what it appears to be. When you first look at this game, you're going to be like, oh, it's a game about some teenage girl going through teenage issues, and there's bullying, and there's like all these, you're at this school, and there's stuff. That's not what this game is. That's the facade that they use on this game to tell a phenomenal story, and it is going to change, and it is going to surprise the heck out of you. This game is, again, fantastic. You don't even have to take a chance on it because episode 1 is free. You can download it. There's 5 episodes, episodic game. You can download it, have fun with it. Maybe you'll enjoy it or not, but my caveat is, and I say this every single time I suggest this game, episode 1 is not indicative of what the game is at the end. You're going to kind of get an idea of the mechanics of the game and how it plays, but as far as the story goes, it's not very indicative of it. It sets up a lot of the characters. You're going to hate a lot of the characters. You're going to be like, man, I freaking hate her. She is so freaking annoying. I hate that woman. Why is she such a pain in the butt? But by the end of the game, you're going to be like, wow, that was such a well-written character, and I don't understand how they managed to do that. This game covers a lot of different issues that everybody really deals with, and it does it in a way that is going to blow your mind. By the time, and I'm not going to give any spoilers here, but by the time you get to the end of episode 3, you're going to realize just how crazy this game is about to get. And when it gets to the end of the game, you're going to be just astonished. We've done a playthrough on it. Again, I'll put all the links in the descriptions and all that for you if you want to check it out. But do not spoil this game for yourself if you haven't already. You need to play through it fresh, with open eyes, and just go for it. It is again, phenomenal. Episode 1 is free. Do that. Now, the reason why I'm pushing this game so hard is because last year, during the fall, we also got I wouldn't say a sequel, it's like a prequel to the game, which is Life is Strange Before the Storm. Now, in Before the Storm, you get to control a different character. It's one of the characters that you interact with within the first game, but then you get to kind of play through her story and what happened to her before the first Life is Strange game and kind of everything going on there, and you get to interact with some characters that you see in Life is Strange. It's a little jarring because they changed out some of the voice actors, so they aren't the same, but they still do a phenomenal job. It may just be kind of weird when you go from Life is Strange to Life is Strange Before the Storm. And by the way, you need to play it in that order. Do Life is Strange first, then Before the Storm. If you do it the other way around, I don't think it will have such an impact when you play the first game. On top of that, and this is why I'm still pushing this game and why you still need to pick it up, if you like the first game, get Before the Storm. If by the time you get to the end of Before the Storm, you're like, yes, this is awesome, although you may not be able to do that in the time of the sale, even though it's not going to matter too much. On the 26th of this month, they have a new free game coming out, which is called The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit, which takes place in the Life is Strange universe. It's going to bridge the gap between kind of what's going on in the games as far as we know it now and what's going to happen in their newly announced Life is Strange 2, which is going to come out on September 27th. That's the first episode, is September 27th of Life is Strange 2. So that's the reason I'm pushing it so hard, is not only is this game fantastic, and Before the Storm is pretty good, it's not as good as the first game, and then we're getting a free thing called The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit, which is going to kind of bridge what's happening in the world. But then we're also getting Life is Strange 2 on September 27th, and it's just, if you're a Life is Strange fan, your mind is being blown right now. It's going to be awesome. I'm really, really looking forward to this. Buy this freaking game. How hard do I have to push it? But that's enough of that. Let's move on to a completely different style of game. Go get Tabletop Simulator if you haven't. You can play tabletop games like board games and whatnot on a virtual tabletop. There's a ton of mods that are really, really good and really, really accurate, as they've like imported all of the stuff in, like cards and little units and everything for all these various different board games. If there is a board game you enjoy, it's probably on the Steam Workshop, and there are even some paid DLCs that are really, really good. I don't think that all of them are worth it, but I do have Scythe. Scythe works really, really well as a paid DLC. It's $4 on top of that. So, you know, if the game is $9 and Scythe is $4, only one of the people playing the game, so, you know, you can invite your friends to come play. They have to have Tabletop Simulator, but they don't have to have the Scythe DLC. Only the host has to have the DLC stuff in order for them to play. So Scythe is worth it. So is The Captain is Dead. I think those are two really, really good DLCs on that. And so is Zia Legends of a Drift System, especially because the box of that game is like $90. So if you want to try that game out and not have to pay out the butt for it, the DLC does a fantastic job. But if you just want to pick up the game for a stupid cheap price and then play all the free mods, like, you know, whatever tabletop, like Dead of Winter, for example, or Betrayal at House on the Hill, like some really fantastic board games. They're all on the workshop for free that you can download. Just get a ton of friends, or don't get friends and then go just jump in the game and find a public game and, you know, play some tabletop games with people. It's great. Get Tabletop Simulator. Another one of my suggestions is Civilization 6. When this game launched, a lot of people either hated it or loved it, and now that it has the Rise and Fall expansion, most people love it. I think Rise and Fall is kind of the equivalent to Gods and Kings for Civ 5. It changes the game in a significant way. It does it in a really nice way, and it kind of gives the game a lot of life. I think Civ 6 is really, really good, and with Rise and Fall, it is, in my opinion, although not everybody believes this, it is now better than Civ 5, and it makes me excited for whatever they're going to do next as far as expansions are concerned. Rise and Fall is on sale for 25% off. None of the other DLC packs do you really need, so don't pick them up unless you're like really desperate to have a certain Civ that you want to play. Otherwise, the base game is good, and with Rise and Fall, the base game is really good. It's just, you know, if you're into Civ, it's a good game. If you're kind of interested in these kind of 4X games, then go for it. Otherwise, don't bother, because it may be a little too much for you. But maybe you're into, you know, strategy games, just not things like 4X games. In that case,
Go get XCOM 2 if you don't already have it. It is really, really freaking good. A lot of the bugs have been kind of polished out. It is better than their previous XCOM that they did. And on top of that, the War of the Chosen expansion changes the game significantly and does it in a really, really good way. I would suggest this, but if you aren't immediately interested in hearing XCOM, and you watch the trailers and like what the gameplay's like and you're like, that's not for me, then definitely don't get it. But if it does interest you in some way, then I would suggest getting it. It is a very good game that you're going to put a lot of time into. However, maybe you're kind of more up the, no, I do want to play a 4X game, I just don't want to play Civ. Then in that case, Stellaris is a good bet. Most of the expansions are really good. It's just a solid game. If you don't know about Stellaris, you probably should look into it. It is unique and it's different. And while it's a 4X game, it's not quite, Civ. On top of that, if that doesn't do it for you, the Endless games might. So you have Endless Legend, which is kind of more like Civ, but it's like a fantasy version of Civ. And then you have Endless Space, which is kind of more like Stellaris, except it's, more like civilization in space. It's really good. Endless Space 2 is very, very good. I would suggest it. And if none of those Endless games that I just mentioned are good for you, try Dungeon of the Endless. It's a completely different style game. It's like a turn-based dungeon crawling game that is live. Like it's turn-based, but it's not. It's hard to explain. It's got a great art style, but it is one of those games that is like completely different. Alternatively, you can just get the entire pack of games, which gives you a ton of stuff for pretty cheap. It is really, really good. I would highly suggest all of the Endless games. I love them all. But let's change the pace here to something a little bit more action-oriented. Tomb Raider is $3. If you haven't played this game, it came out a while ago. It came out in 2013. This game is really good. It is really fantastic. I would suggest playing it. Also, Tomb Raider, the Rise of the Tomb Raider is also very, very good. It is a much better looking game, and in some ways it is more improved. It has more of an open world for you to kind of go through and get the collectibles on. It's really good, but the reason I suggest this is because Shadow of the Tomb Raider comes out soon, and you're going to want to have played the previous two games before you jump into Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I like these games. They're very Uncharted-like. If that's not a game for you, then kind of pass on it. But otherwise, I would suggest it. Or maybe you're the kind of person who went and saw the Tomb Raider movie recently, and you're like, that was an entertaining movie. It was a cool action movie. Then play the first Tomb Raider game, the 2013 version, that is. That's kind of what the movie was based off of, except I believe that the game is better because there is a lot more weirdness that goes on in the game as opposed to the movie, and it's loosely based on the game. The movie is, so I think the game is much better as far as that is concerned. It's really good though. Would suggest these three games. And with the announcement of Fallout 76 coming later this year, and the beta is going to be starting if you pre-order Fallout 76, which kind of sucks, but that's a multiplayer game. Maybe you've never played a Fallout game before, and now is the perfect time to go and play one. You can go play Fallout 3, that's on sale. Fallout New Vegas is also on sale, but I honestly, and I know this is going to be a little controversial, would suggest just picking up Fallout 4. It is a really good game. It's not quite as life-changing as people probably would have wanted from it, but it is solid through and through. You can get the Game of the Year edition, which comes with all the DLC. It is worth it. It is a good price on it. But the only DLCs that really matter are Automatron. I think that's cool because you can build your own robots to be your followers and stuff. Far Harbor is really good. It's kind of its own unique story. It's not set on the same area as the base game. You're kind of like off on this island. It's really cool. There's new monsters and stuff. And then Nuka World is kind of throwaway, but it is there. Outside of that, the other stuff is just for building stuff, because there's like a building mode in Fallout 4. It's really good. It's an excellent RPG that you'll put a ton of time into. I do suggest getting it. And speaking of Bethesda stuff, I would definitely suggest Dishonored. If you've never played the first Dishonored game, it's stupid cheap. It is so really freaking good, and it stands the test of time because the mechanics are solid and the graphics are unique. Dishonored 2 is, in my opinion, a much better game. There's a lot more stuff there that is really freaking cool. I do really enjoy Dishonored 2, and Dishonored Death of the Outsider, which is a standalone thing. You don't have to own Dishonored or Dishonored 2 in order to play it. is unique, and it's way longer than I was expecting it to be. It's really freaking fun, and you get a whole new look at that world. I have a playthrough of all of these games. I'll put the links in everywhere on this video, and as far as the DLC is concerned for like the first Dishonored game, it's all pretty throwaway, but Brigmore Witches and the Knife of Dunwall are kind of like, you know, do them. They're good. The Brigmore Witches and the Knife of Dunwall will give you some behind-the-scenes story that will make sense in Dishonored 2 and Death of the Outsiders, so it's worth doing. But all 3 games are freaking fantastic. The pack is worth getting because it discounts the games, you know, pretty significantly. There is a special deal going on, which means that you can pick up Quake Champions for completely free. You know, Quake Champions is a game that you would normally have to buy. There's a little pack, but right now you can go get it until the 25th for completely free. So go get it. Quake Champions is fantastic. It's Quake. It's multiplayer Quake, which if that doesn't sound exciting to you, it should, because Quake is great and Quake Champions is really great and it's free. So go get it. And maybe you like that kind of shooting, but, you know, Quake isn't going to do it for you. Then in that case, go pick up Doom, because Doom is a really, 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 really good shooter. It's one of the best shooters to ever be released, period. Like, this game is fantastic. It's got a great soundtrack. It's really good looking. The shooting is freaking nominal. It's just good. Get Doom. I love Doom. Doom is really, really good. And there's a new Doom coming out. So, you know, play this Doom and then get the new Doom when it comes out. How about that? Because that'll be fun. And everybody's going to be talking about the new Doom. And you're going to be like, I haven't even played the old Doom. You need to buy it. It's good. If you haven't played the Wolfenstein games, they're on sale too. Those games are also good. And maybe you're saying to yourself, Zen, the shooting in those games are fine and all, but I need a game with more zombies. Maybe you are saying that. Maybe you're saying I need a game with more zombies. And if that is the case, go get Dying Light. There's a new game coming, Dying Light 2. And Dying Light is really, really good. It surprised the heck out of me and my friends when it came out. We put a lot of time into this game. We played through the game completely, and then on New Game Plus mode, and there's an expansion for it, which is okay, but just go get it. It's cheap, it's really good, and it's really freaking cool, especially if you can get some friends to play with you. Also, the parkour system in this game is really well done, and surprisingly so. So go get Dying Light. But maybe you prefer your zombies to be a bit more spooky, then in that case, go get Resident Evil 7. Resident Evil 7 is just one of the most beautiful games, and it is so well done. I think, and this is controversial to some of the Resident Evil diehards, I think this is the best Resident Evil game. The Resident Evil 2 remake coming out looks really good, and I'm super hyped for that. But until that gets here, this is the best Resident Evil game, in my opinion. It's that good. All of the DLC is interesting. Only a couple of it is really good, like Not a Hero, for example, or End of Zoe. Those games or those DLCs are interesting and good, but the rest of them are kind of weird. So like the season pass is worth it, but just know that you're getting into some weird stuff there. The game is phenomenal. We did a playthrough of it. You know, I'll put the description and all that. You know, the links to stuff. But it's just go play this game, and it's crazy good. And while I'm in the mood for shaming you for games that you haven't played yet, and you probably should, you really need to go pick up Rainbow Six Siege. This game is thriving. There's a huge player base for it, and it is just a really, really good multiplayer shooter. They have, you know, constant content coming out, and it's really, really cool. On top of that, I need to put a thing out there to say, do not buy the starter edition, whatever you do. It's cheap. You're like, that's $15. Starter edition, it's cool. Don't do it. It's the worst choice you're going to make. Just buy the standard edition. Just put out the extra few dollars and get the standard edition. You'll thank me later, because you cannot upgrade. If you get the starter edition, you can't upgrade to another edition, and you're going to be stuck with some pretty nasty like lockdowns on some of the stuff in the game, and you're not going to have as much content as everybody else is, and it's just not as good. Get the standard edition. Like I said, you'll thank me later. On top of that, Tom Clancy's pretty cool, you know, so why not go get The Division? Division 2's come out. The Division 1 is a really good game now that they've patched it a ton of times and had a couple expansions and everything. It's really, really good, actually, and it still continues to hold one of the best survival modes in any AAA game or any game out there, period. I think that the Last Stand stuff is fun. It's really cool. On top of that, you have like a endless dungeon mode with the underground, and that stuff is all expansion stuff. If you don't have the expansions, it's worth getting, because they just added the new quote-unquote shields that you can get in the game. So if you get the shields in the Division, it'll unlock stuff in the Division 2 and in the Division. This game is really nice to pick up now that they've had a ton of updates and they fixed the game, and it's way better than it was at launch. And you should be playing the Division because it is unique. If you like that kind of like Destiny format with like the loot and the guns and being able to shoot and level up, the Division just does it better, in my opinion, especially after Destiny 2. But we'll see when that new expansion comes out if that fixes it. The Division's really good. Go get it. My final game suggestion is going to be my most controversial game suggestion, as it always is, because I have been suggesting this game over the past few Steam sales, but I'm being honest when I say No Man's Sky is a good game, guys. It is now. They've updated it a ton. When the game first came out, it was a huge disappointment to me and to most of everybody else. It wasn't what we wanted the game to be, and it definitely wasn't what they marketed the game being. However, they put in the work, and now it is. It is that game that you wanted, and it is really good. There is full-on base building and stuff, and you can buy a capital ship now, and it's just awesome. On top of that, currently in the game, there's like a faux multiplayer thing going on where you can like see like another player, but they're just like this floaty globe thing. So you could find your friends and kind of quote-unquote play together, but the new update, which is called No Man's Sky Next, not only is bringing the game to the Xbox One, but is also adding that fully into the game. So you're going to have more multiplayer stuff to do than you ever have before, and it's going to be that game that you wish this game was when you first saw the initial trailers for it. It's really good. It's actually surprisingly good, and it's totally worth the price. And I know that's going to get me like crucified for people who played this game at launch and then hated it. But seriously, you got to try this game again. It is really good. It is worth it. So those are all my suggestions for games. There was a lot of them in this video. I'm going to have another video that I'm going to do with all of the hidden gems, as in games that are really, really good, but nobody is like, it's not on their radar. And maybe some of them are, and maybe some of them aren't, but you should be able to get one or two cheap games out of that are very unique at the very least. I'll put that up later this weekend. However, if you have a game suggestion, put it in the description below, and maybe it'll make it onto that hidden gems list. But, people come to these videos because they want to see new games. They want to buy games. They're hungry for games that they haven't played before. And you know what? You guys are a great source for those suggestions. Put them in the description, and hopefully you'll, have someone buy maybe one of your favorite games that nobody's ever heard of. Outside of that, like I said, I'll be back with the Hidden Gems video, and we'll try to hit up a ton of games that you guys just have never heard of or have never played before. With that being said, we shall see you guys next time.